Welcome, everyone. Well, I finally made it. I've been planning to do this since 2022. So, welcome to Unleashing the Voice with Bridget Adams. Hey, y'all. Well, here we go. I need to tell you where I've been so you can understand why I'm here. So, I won't get too deep in the first episode, but know that I was the girl that was content with just holding it in the road. um Working, taking care of my daughter, going to school, like everything looked good on paper, right? I got the degrees, I had the job, I had the 401k, my daughter was taken care of, I had the house, I had the car, stability, right? But personally, inside, I was a hot mess. For real, a mess. Because I didn't know who I was. I didn't know who God created me to be. I didn't know what my purpose was. I didn't know any of that. And I'm going to be honest with you, I was so far removed from God at one point that I didn't realize that I was even here for a purpose. And that's just the truth. I didn't. So after doing it my way and just finding myself back in the same spot, literally doing a 360, not a 180. When you do a 180, you stop and you change. When you do a 360, you start at a point, you come back to that same point again, right? That's what I was doing, a 360. I found myself one night at home and just literally walking around in circles and just like, I have to do something different because doing it my way just wasn't working. And I heard a voice and it said, all right, it's time. It's time for us to work on our relationship. I immediately went in my room, got my journal that I hadn't written in really, and I started journaling. And what I realized as I started journaling is that I really didn't deem myself worthy. Like, I think that I was so far removed from God because I didn't deem myself worthy. Right now, I went to church all my life. I've been in church all my life, right? And I still didn't have a relationship with God. Like, I knew about God or whatever. And I'm gonna be honest with you. Sometimes I paid attention, sometimes I did. I don't know. I knew that God was the center. I knew God was supposed to be my everything. I knew that's who I prayed to every night. I knew that he took care of me, but I didn't know who God was. I didn't. I didn't know who he was. But I always had dreams and I didn't even understand my dreams until later on. But I realized I have dreamed all my life and God had been calling me to him all my life and I just didn't understand. So I started journaling and really just pouring out everything and just started to believe that God loved me and that God deemed me worthy. And that was the beginning of my journey to get to this point. Now, I still wasn't where I needed to be, right? But I was journaling, I was reading the Bible, I was really trying to understand who God was. I mean, really just starting from the beginning, like, who is God? And it was working. I was drawing closer to him. I started feeling his presence and everything. So let me go back a little bit. So this has been a theme in my life. Every time I started getting close to God, every time I, started reading my Bible, start whatever, something always came and disrupted the cycle, right? See, the enemy knows what you like. The enemy knows your weaknesses. And he also knows how powerful you are. So he's going to put those things in front of you. And if you're not strong enough in your faith, in yourself, to resist those things, you're going to continue to fall back into those cycles over and over again. Well, that's what was happening to me. It's honest, right? That's what was happening to me. So this particular time, this is the closest that I'd ever gotten to God at this point. And something came and interrupted that, right? But God is faithful. And I went through some really dark times. After that, I stopped journaling. I wasn't really reading my Bible. Like God was, he was pulling me. He set me down a couple of times that I did not pick up what he was putting down. But the thing about God is when he wants to reach you, he's going to reach you, right? And it's not going to always be the way that you think. And so I went through a couple of years. I journaled here and there. But God was still speaking to me. He was still speaking to me. And what really started me on my journey to where the turning point was my boyfriend at the time. He sent me a video of someone doing healing. And again, when God wants to get your attention, he will get your attention. And when I tell you that from that one video, it took me down a path like a rabbit hole. It literally took me down a rabbit hole. It's like the more I read about it, the more I wanted to learn about it. That's when I started learning about healing and the prophetic and dreams and visions and all those things. And the more I just was hungry at that point. And I literally started making a 180. I made a 180. I was not the girl, the lady, the woman that I was. And so I initially started my journey like 2016, then kind of got thrown off around 2017 and not into 2021-ish to 21 to 2, like right after COVID. Well, during COVID is when I got the video and I really started digging in. But this is the thing. I look back on that time during COVID and what I started doing was gardening. I started gardening. I started digging up roots and planting flowers and preparing my flower beds. And what I didn't realize is God was preparing me then because that's the way God speaks to me. He speaks to me through nature. I always say God speaks to me through plants, right? But I really was doing the work. I was digging up roots, was uprooting things. I was making it pretty. I was, planting flowers and planting seeds and learning about those things. And that's pretty much what we do with our life, right? We have weeds, we have roots, and sometimes we have to dig those things up in order to move ahead. So God was teaching me without me even understanding what he was teaching me. So fast forward, I dug in, and I started really, like I said, I did a 180. And so from there, I just start hearing God and I start, really getting up every morning and really journaling again and reading my Bible, doing my Bible study. And the more I did that, the more God starts talking to me, the more I started dreaming, and God literally started teaching me in my dreams. And God is so faithful. He's so faithful. And I feel like I have to give you this backstory about who I am. And I'm not giving you everything at this point, but I kind of wanted to give a backstory of who I am so you'll know going forward why I'm here now. So after I really started hearing from God, so let me back up a little bit. So 2017, I had an idea for a women's group. I wanted to do a women's group. I'm not at the time I didn't know where it was coming from. Now I know. But I didn't know what this women's group was supposed to be, right? I just knew I wanted to do this women's group. It was just something that was burning inside of me. Never did it when I started seeking God, and it came back clear that it was supposed to be a ministry, a women's ministry. And that makes sense. And so in 2022 is when I created Moving Beyond the Middle Women's ministry, and had my first conference in 2022. I had another one in 2023. Um, I'm telling the story. 2023 and 2024 is when I had my conferences. And I was blown away, right? I was blown away. I had no money, I had no venue, I had none of that, but I did have faith. God called me to have faith. And it was funded. It was funded. I had 54 people there for my first one. My second one was really good too. Like, God is just faithful. And that was moving in obedience. And I just hope that this can help somebody along the way, right? Whatever God is calling you to do it. Right. And God has called me to do several different things. And this podcast was one of the first things. And I was disobedient. I didn't do it, but I'm doing it now. And I want to be able to help people along their journeys as well. I realized just, going through this journey and the things that I've gone through in my life, all the heartache, all the struggles that I've gone was because I didn't know who I was. I didn't know who I was in God, in Christ. And that's something that I think a lot of people struggle with because they don't know who they are. And when you don't know who you are, you can get pulled in so many different directions and just here and there and everywhere. So I just think it's so important that the first thing you do is you seek God for who you are. And not only that, once you realize who God called you to be, he created us in his image. God is creative. God is witty. God can give us ideas. God is a master of everything. So, of course, he has put some of those things inside of us, but it's up to us to figure it out, right? So we have to seek God in order to see where we're supposed to be, what we're supposed to be doing. Right? Because we all have a purpose. We were all created with a purpose. One thing that I want to mention, one of the things I used to say, used to tell people all the time, oh, I'm not creative. I'm not creative. We are all creative. Say it with me. I am creative. We are all creative. We are. My creative may not look like your creative. Your creative might not look like somebody else's creative. I think because when we think about being creative, we think about music or drawing or art or something like that, something that's really tangible. That's not how everybody is created. I didn't think I had a creative bone in my body, but what a lie from the enemy, right? What a lie from the enemy. A lie. I have a business. I design t-shirts. I'm getting into designing my own clothes. I just recorded a single. And there's so many other things that I'm doing. I have a mentorship, working with girls, you know, it's so many things, right? It's so many things that we were called to do. What's your purpose? What is that thing that's burning in your heart that you don't think you could do? 9 times out of 10, that is exactly what you're supposed to be doing. You have to understand who you are and be confident in who you are in order to move into the things that God has for you. Well, until next time, I want you to, let's see, what I want you to do. I want you to write down a few things that you think that you really want to do. Just write them down. Just don't even think about it. Write it down. It may not be one or two things. It's probably a few, but write them down and pray about it. Seek God about it. And I promise you, he'll answer you. Believe me. So until the next time, stay empowered. Stay positive. Keep pushing until you can move beyond the middle and start walking into the purpose that you were created for.